Great. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say welcome to our Equity and Arts Learning for Colorado Youth information session. I am Daisy Fodness-McGowan. I'm the Executive Director at Think 360 Arts for Learning, and I'm very happy to be joined today by Alex Ovis, Think 360 Arts Education Director, and Becca Sigbert, our Grants Manager at Think 360 Arts, which includes overseeing administration of this grant. I want to say thank you, first of all, to our visionary collaborative funders, the Bonfils Stanton Foundation, Colorado Creative Industries, and Denver Arts and Venues for making this grant possible. This collaborative funding model is really an innovative approach, and it lays out a bold vision to address a major challenge across Colorado, which is inequitable access to arts education opportunities for our youth. So just a quick note about Think 360 Arts for Learning. We're a statewide serving nonprofit. We've been working for over 6 decades to bring arts education that includes music, visual art, dance, theater, and literary arts access to under-resourced urban and rural communities across the state. And in 2023, the Bonfils Stanton Foundation invited Think 360 Arts to co-develop and to administrate the Equity in Arts Learning for Colorado Youth Grant Opportunity. And the founding partners, Colorado Creative Industries and Denver Arts and Venue, they're continuing to support this program as we move into its second year, which is what we'll be talking about today. So Becca, I will continue here with and kick it over to you.
Thank you, Daisy. And it's such a pleasure to be here and share some information about the Equity in Arts Learning for Colorado Youth Grant Opportunity. And so because this is a video recording, we'll make sure that we share the timestamps with you in case you want to jump ahead to one of these subject matter areas. But we will make sure that we not only go over the overview of the grant and some of the eligibility criteria, we will also dig into some of the funding details, what that application process will look like, and of course, the selection criteria. We also want to share some success stories because this is now the second cohort that we'll be welcoming into the grant opportunity for the school year that will start 2025 and go through 2026. And then, of course, we'll share some contact information with you in case you have other questions. Just as a reminder, all of this information is also on our website on the landing page, and we'll reference that more than once. But thanks for joining us today.
Great. So I am happy to go over the big picture with this grant opportunity. Our goals for the Equity in Arts Learning for Colorado Youth Grant are first and foremost to strengthen regional efforts to improve sustained access to arts education for historically marginalized and minoritized youth. This includes youth who identify as BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, LGBTQIA+, youth with disabilities, and youth living in rural communities. The grant provides opportunities for youth ages 4 to 21 in Colorado schools to work with professional artists in an educational setting, especially youth who have limited or no access to high-quality sustained arts learning. And our third goal is to heighten awareness of the impact of arts education, the importance of arts education, and to increase both financial and curricular resources statewide, ultimately leading to more equitable access to arts education for youth. Why is that so vital? Well, we know from our first inaugural year of the grant that there's a great need across the state. In its first year alone, we had $5.6 million in requests support for arts education programs statewide. And unfortunately, we're not able to meet that need, but that is a big goal for us. We know, depending on where you live in Colorado, you're going to have different levels of access as youth to arts education. And having worked in this space for 6 decades, we know arts education is vital for so many reasons.
Okay, great. So we wanted to make sure to dig into what eligibility criteria looks like for this Equity in Arts Learning opportunity. And again, if you have questions and want to look through our really robust FAQ, you can do that on our landing page at think360arts.org/grant. But just to make sure that we go through each one of these. Sorry, I will make sure that I cut this out. But okay, to dig into the eligibility, for sure, we want to make sure that the applicant is a Colorado-based nonprofit organization, a pre-K through 12 school or school district. And what that means is we are working with nonprofit organizations that must be engaged with a school partner or have a strong history of working with youth. They should be registered with the Colorado Secretary of State with an address in Colorado. They should have a Colorado-based staff person who will be actively engaged in the success of the project. And of course, these funded projects need to be taking place at a place of learning and education. That doesn't mean it has to be at a school. It could be during the school day or after school at a community center, a library, a nonprofit artist home site, or other locations that are highly accessible to youth through public transportation or other methods of accessibility. We do want to emphasize that individual artists are not eligible for this funding unless they're working closely with a school through a school district or a nonprofit organization. And we did want to mention, of course, that arts disciplines here are very broadly defined. We're not saying it's just visual arts or performing arts. There's ample space for multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary approaches, and we look forward to seeing how you break boundaries and create new bridges.
Well, let's look at our inaugural year of funding. In that first year, as I mentioned, we had a total of 5.6 million in requests. That was 274 letters of intent from 36 of 64 Colorado counties. And for our final round, we had 79 full applications and we awarded grants to 21 grantees statewide. I'm very excited to share that for 2025-26 funding, we have nearly $500,000 to re-grant, and I'm excited to dive into what those funding details are. So as I shared, we have nearly $500,000 to re-grant, and those are in amounts of $10,000 to $25,000. And for projects happening up to 1 year in length, so July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, somewhere in that range. Some of our frequently asked questions, as Becca shared, individual artists can't be the lead applicants. And so to that end, for individual artists, for groups that do not have that nonprofit status or are not a school or a school district, they cannot be the lead because we cannot accept fiscal sponsorships. Only 501c3 nonprofit organizations, schools, and school districts may be the lead applicants, of course, partnering with artists, but to clarify that again. Another frequently asked question, can we request less than $10,000? Yes. However, we encourage you to build a comprehensive budget that considers artist fees, supplies, transportation, marketing costs, staff time, if applicable. And if you considered all of these costs and then your project is still coming in under $10,000, you absolutely can apply for an award of less than $10,000. An amount requested below $10,000 might also reflect an opportunity to expand an existing program that has some other funding in place. And a final FAQ I'll address is, can we request funding for a program that already exists? Yes, this does not need to be a new project. However, our panelists are going to be looking at how the funds are impacting the expansion of access to arts learning. All right, so considering the possible uses of funding, we want to highlight projects that center youth voices and needs, projects that demonstrate sustained engagement, learning, and impact on the youth being served, projects that happen before, during, after school, or on the weekend and during the summer, and projects where teacher professional development is a component perhaps, but it cannot be the majority of the proposal. The following are not eligible for equity and arts learning for Colorado Youth Grant funding. Projects that charge a fee to participants. We can't have barriers to access for participants. Pre-K through 12 teacher salaries. Those are not allowed. However, you can look at including teacher stipends. general operating costs not directly related to the project, and capital improvement projects.
Okay, great. And of course, you will want to know what these key dates are for this particular grant funding cycle. And so the first phase is that letters of intent phase. The portal through submittable.com will open September 26th and be open until 11:59 Mountain Time on November 22nd. And so basically, we need those LOIs submitted by midnight. At that point, we will send this back to our esteemed panelists for their evaluation phase. And the letters of intent phase, we are expecting a fairly competitive round because there was so much interest and so much need last year. And so we're prioritizing support during that phase. Please join us for the open office hours, and you'll hear more about that later. But then from the point that the panelists have determined which letters of intent will be invited to create a full application, those letters will go out by January 20th, and the full application will be due in February. That means that we'll be able to make the awards by mid to late April. And the expectation is that the projects will take place July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. And because this is a learning project, we are learning alongside all of you who are our partners in this work. We are looking forward to receiving all of those grant reports by July 31st, 2026. So the steps, how do you apply? I did mention, of course, that will be happening in submittable.com. If you already have an account, that's wonderful. I will mention that we open up our applications to collaboration, and it's really key because of how the notifications work, that whoever is on the account is using the email address and has access to those notifications, because that's how you'll be hearing from us about what steps are happening in terms of your application. If you have any questions at all with that, you can let us know. We're here to support you as much as we can. We are a small team. You've heard from all of us here, just the three of us. And so we work really hard on your behalf just to make sure that you have the support that you need. But that first step, of course, is logging into Submittable. You can find the link on our website. Again, that's think360arts.org/grant. And from there, once you have your primary contact, you can start creating your letter of intent following that opening on September 26th. The application itself for the letter of intent is fairly straightforward. It should be shorter than the full application because we're trying to protect your time and also to make sure that our panelists have the time that they need to review your amazing idea. And then that LOI, of course, needs to be submitted, as we mentioned, by November 22nd. One more time, the invitations for the full application will go out in January of 2025.
I'm happy to share a bit about our evaluation process. First, we have panelists that are statewide arts and education professionals serving to review all of the applications from the letters of intent phase as well as the full application phase. Additionally, our collaborative funders review and score in that evaluation process. And I will just underline that at Think360 Arts, we are the administrators, but we're not involved in the decision-making process. And what are we looking for? What are our panelists looking for? They're looking for alignment with the rubric and the grant opportunity goals. So those key criteria, which I will be happy to kick it over to Alex Ovis to talk a bit more about our rubric.
Hi, everyone. So it's important to us that this process is transparent and accessible, and a comprehensive version of this rubric will be posted on our website. As Daisy mentioned, the letters of intent and full applications will be reviewed and scored by a group of panelists comprised of our collaborative funders and members of the arts education community from across the state. And the key focus areas are directly aligned with the grant criteria and the priorities of the funding opportunity. And the panelists and funders will also use this criteria in reviewing the LOIs in the preliminary phase. So our focus areas are bucketed in four areas. One is around improving access to arts education, around creating projects that have a depth of learning, capacity for relationship building, that fill a clear and named gap in your communities, and are in service to youth with limited or no access to high quality arts learning. A big emphasis for us in these projects are serving minoritized and historically marginalized youth. So specifically how these projects will engage youth who are BIPOC, LGBTQIA+, who come from low-income communities, rural youth, and youth with disabilities. And it is really important that the projects center youth identities and needs. We'll also be looking at the planning and organization of your proposed projects, that they have a strong implementation plan, how you're going to execute this project, that are highly accessible to youth, which I think Becca mentioned earlier, relative to scheduling, transportation, and time commitment, and that the budget is reasonable and directly correlated to the impact of the project. And then lastly, around the artist and arts organization collaboration and community alignment. So involving artists and culture bearers who have the appropriate skill sets to support the youth served, and that the teaching artists or arts organizations have a successful track record of working with youth, and ideally whose identities and experiences reflect the youth participants. And so we also wanted to highlight some of the projects that were awarded in this last grant cycle that are currently underway. And so again, the projects that rise to the top are ones that center the identities and needs of youth participants. And you can read about all of our fundees from this last grant cycle on our website, and the link is here. But we wanted to highlight a few of the funded projects that are, again, currently underway. So the first of which is in Denver at Montbello Career and Technical High School, which is a Denver public school pathway school, which oftentimes don't have the opportunity to offer arts learning in the traditional school day. And they are collaborating with Samba Colorado, which is a Brazilian arts organization specializing in the African diaspora, dance, and music. And there's a staff member at Montbello Career and Technical who is actively involved in that organization. And so they're providing a culturally responsive and relevant dance and music program to its diverse student body in the far northeast Denver area. This new arts education partnership will allow students to engage in collaborative arts learning, and additionally aims to pave the way for career opportunities in the arts, as well as create opportunities for the local community to attend cultural performances free of charge. Another program we wanted to highlight is in the Arvada area, which is with the arts organization Colorado Acts, with the project named Special Needs Acting Programs at Colorado Acts, or SNAP. A good acronym goes a long way. So Colorado Acts is proud to offer special needs acting programs, a uniquely inclusive community theater opportunity for children and young adults who are differently abled. SNAP is an integral part of closing the gap between the arts and children with disabilities in the local community, making the Denver metro area a more creative and more equitable community for all. And then lastly, we're highlighting one of our school district partners, which is Steamboat Springs School District. And they applied to receive funding for an integrated performing arts and social emotional learning curriculum development program. And I do want to underscore that it is a curriculum building program and also an arts integration implementation project. So youth are directly receiving programming as the district is cultivating this curricula, which will support the students year over year. So there are school-based performing arts programs will be integrated into dedicated classes in partnership with a local professional artist. And elementary students will have the opportunity to act, sing, and dance as they prepare to perform in an arts production for the community, again, grounded in social emotional learning. So yeah, we just want to underscore that projects that vastly vary in what their deliverables are, and we're so excited to hearing about what your ideas are.
Thanks, Alex. Well, I'll wrap us up by just sharing some final encouragement to apply. As administrators at Think 360 Arts, we prioritize support in advance of our due dates. What that means is that both the letter of intent phase and the full application phase, we open up times for support. And it also means that due to capacity constraints, we're not able to offer feedback in the post-evaluation and announcement phases. So we encourage you to join our virtual office hours. You'll see the link there. It is at our think360arts.org/grant link. You can find it on our website very easily. And those office hours are now on our website, and they do not require advanced sign up. You can just drop in. These meetings are informal, they're virtual, of course, and they're collaborative. So you might typically be there with multiple participants joining at once to ask questions and learning from each other, as well as from our wonderful grants team of Alex and Becca. And should an applicant move to the full application phase, it's highly recommended at that point to schedule a one-on-one time to review your proposal. But as we shared in that first phase for the letters of intent, those office hours are available and you can drop in when it works for you. I'll just share some quick details for follow-up should you need them. Our email address is there, grants@think360arts.org, our phone number, and website, the phone number, excuse me, is on our website if you want to call in for additional queries, but we highly recommend email and taking advantage of those virtual office hours. And I want to say thank you to the grants team, to Alex Ovis, our education director, to Becca Sickbert, our grants manager, and again to our collaborative funders, and to all of you. You made our first year, many of you in this arts education community made our first year of the grant very successful, and we're really excited to see and hear from you and your ideas as you develop your proposals for our second year of the Equity and Arts Learning for Colorado Youth Grant.